Okay, here we are. This is how to draw a world speed record car number 6. And what we've done is I have worked on the body that shows through the spokes of the rear wheel. This is just a start on. It's not probably as dark as it'll be to finish up, but I want to get that part of it done so that I can work the wheel and tire against it. And I may have to do a little enhancing on the spokes in there too. But for right now, this is just the beginning. This is trying to make the spokes stand out, have the hub stand out a little bit so you can see that it's there. And then the most important thing is to show that the body is actually is shining through from back there with the dark black. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to finish up on the rest of the body, and it's going to be pretty dark. The upper portions are most of it fairly dark. There are a couple highlights on it, and the smokestack that's sitting up, hanging in the wind in the back there looks like probably aluminum or polished steel. So I'm going to go ahead and do the upper body right now, or start on the upper body, I should say. And then I'm going to go back over it again to darken it so that it gets close to the value that it'll be when I finally get done with it. And here we go. Okay, this is the first coat going across there that I've laid down right now, you see. And I'm coming back on top of it to put more dots in it. And as you can see, as the dots get more dense, the color shows to your mind's eye as being a darker gray. And then finally, when we get back to that point, it gets to nearly black, if we take it that far. But in this case, it's going to be a fairly dark gray over most of the car with, like I say, some highlights. In a couple of places they don't really know what we're going to do there. The photograph that I'm using has the driver, Fred Marriott, sitting in the cockpit. And I didn't want to use that because this is about the car and this is not about Mr. Marriott, in spite of the fact that I think he's probably one of the gutsiest guys in the whole world ever. I didn't want to make it about him because then you just naturally gravitate to a face and you think about him and stuff. This is about the car. So I took him out of there, but I'm going to have to figure out what the seat looked like and do some more research on that. In the end, I may not have a picture of the car without him in it, so I'm going to have to do what I can and just figure out what he was sitting on. I imagine it's probably fairly close to what it would have looked like in one of their racers, so I'll come up with something if need be. But anyway, here you see me doing the work on the front end again. And like as I say, this is going to be fairly dark now. I want to make sure that it's dark enough that we can show really good highlights against the darkness of the blacks or the dark gray. And that's a highlight that's just in front of the, between the front end and the wheel, right at that midpoint line, the white line, or the metallic line that goes along the side of the car, the upper side of the car. So I'm going to leave that for now because that will be a very strong highlight. It'll be a reflection coming back on there. And the same thing on the rear, there'll be one of those as well. Not exactly in the same spot. And then I'm going to have to do some work with that smokestack to make it look legitimate too. But it's coming along fine so far. And this gives you some idea though of the kind of coverage that I need to do in order to make it dark enough to show a representative color. I'm guessing this car is probably really black, but from the photograph it's weird exposure. In the old days they didn't have very fast film, so if you didn't have really strong light it didn't come out right. And I think it must have been really strong light, but it's hard to say what the actual color would have been if seen in interior lighting and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to do it like the photograph, or nearly the color of the photograph, and then we'll work from there on it. When I say color, I actually mean tonal value, of course, because it is only black and white, or shades of gray, if you want to say that. But I'm using only black ink, and the black ink represents gray or black, depending on how dense I make it. Okay, coming right down to it now. We're getting close to giving you some idea what it's going to look like. It's still a very unusual looking car. It looks like something that could have been designed around the Civil War era. It looks like an ironclad battleship or something, but this is probably the height of aerodynamics at the time. Make it slender, make it rounded, and see what happens. And it must have worked, because like I say, this thing did almost 128 miles an hour, and this is just only a couple years after the first airplane flew, so they were doing some pretty trick engineering here to get this thing to this speed. And my hat is definitely off to them for taking as gutsy a step as this, and a man to step up and say, okay, I'll ride that thing. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope to see you back here tomorrow. We'll do a lot more on the body. Thank you very much. Goodbye.